felt songs, and then on the driving ones, right on, not ahead.
Right, and you know what? One last thing really quick. Even in pop R&B, when you're rapping, when there's a break in the song, a lot of times the rappers, people who are rapping, will be slightly behind the meter of the song, which is interesting. Yeah, it's cool though.
Yeah,
it's really cool. It does work.
All right, man. Well, let's get on to number 2.
Cool. Okay, number 2, we want to move right along to phrasing. Now, phrasing we've kind of talked about already a little bit when we were talking about pocket. Mm-hmm. It comes up. Phrasing is very, very important. When I first started working with you, we were working phrasing.
That's what took my voice from being good, but still, you couldn't put your finger on it. It was like, he's got a good voice, but I just don't know why it doesn't sound like I want it to. And that was the big step for me.
The great thing about phrasing is, in my opinion, in my years and years of session singing, phrasing does more than one thing, but one thing really, really well. And that takes the vocalist and the singer to its place of conversational relevance. They're all of a sudden they're being very, very relevant, and it sounds like a conversation. It sounds like you're talking with somebody, but you're singing, you're communicating. But good phrasing is going to make you sound like you're just actually having a conversation with somebody, even if it's with yourself.
And I've noticed at live shows, I get that connection with the audience so much more because the vocal now connects with them. It's not just about, doing the live thing and making a show out of it, but it's actually part of my vocal phrasing was missing, and the vocal wasn't connecting with people. Right. And I noticed in my last few shows, I've figured this phrasing stuff out from what you've taught me, and now I'm vocally in these verses connecting to people, and I have this engagement that I've never seen before. I
always say this when I'm coaching. Sing it like you would say it. Sing it like you would say it. Now, there are going to be subtle differences. Obviously, the one difference is that when you're singing, you're more air is passing through, and a lot more of it for longer spaces of time. But conceptually, while you're singing, think about how you would say this if you were talking to somebody about it. The better you are with your phrasing, the more conversational you become. And the more conversational you become, the more the audience is going to relate. Because all of a sudden now, you're not just a vocalist, a singer. You're not even just an entertainer. You're actually working with the audience to create moments with the audience, whether they realize it or not. You're sucking them right into what you're doing. It's you're feeding them a story, a good story. And a great storyteller always sucks you in. Always.
Well, let's give them some of the things to look for and some of the things that you were teaching me a few months ago that kind of revolutionized the way I sing. What are some of those things? I mean, you noticed when I sang a song, I think the first thing that you fixed was smoothness.
The choppiness is actually really, really good. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you are connecting your words, and I always coach my singers and my artists like this, look at the word or the song as a phrase, a line that's made up of words. Don't look at it as words that make up a line as you're singing. It sounds really almost really overanalyzing, but it isn't. If you think of it in terms of words that make up a phrase, you're more prone to punch into each word.
Well, I'll give an example of that, because that's what I was doing before. And I'll sing this little part. I had this, I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand.
Right.
So fix me now.
Okay, first of all, I remember that. Mm-hmm. That was several months ago. That was an awesome lesson too, an awesome session actually. I like to refer to my lessons as sessions. Everybody wants to be thought of as an artist, because you all are artists.
I like to think so.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, I know you are, bro. But when Jesse sang that, the first thing I noticed, there was a choppiness to the words. They weren't connecting. He was punching into the words and chopping down on the consonants. Crunching your consonants is a good thing, as long as you're not exploding off of your consonants. Mm-hmm. If you crunch the consonant and then you crunch it, but you're not going, but you crunch it, crunch it.
I was going, back of my hand.
Very choppy. Very choppy. It was really staccato, you know. I always coach my artists and my clients by just getting them to think of waves. And I know this may sound really just completely cheesy to you, but it totally works. Waves in an ocean, they just kind of flow. Boom. Until they hit the shore, they're very fluid. They're very effortless. They just go, and there's a certain symmetry to what they do. However fast the wind blows is how fast the waves are. But they're always symmetry. Boom, boom. And that's the way you approach your words in a phrase. Doesn't mean you don't articulate. You articulate your consonants so people understand what you're saying. But there's a difference between pouncing on and gliding into.
So show me that glide into on the...
Well, you show them because you know now. You know now.
Okay. Well, I'm playing devil's advocate.
You know.
So I'll try to do it smooth, and maybe if I mess up, you can fix me too.
Okay.
I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand.
How much better already? Why?
I'm thinking of that smooth wave, and I don't think the consonants are like back of my hand.
Right.
Back of my hand.
Correct.
It's a phrase.
It's a flow.
Mm-hmm.
You're connecting. You were connecting before, but back of my. You are very precise and overly accurate.
And I also noticed that's how I talk it. I would say, I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand.
Yeah, but that was so fluid what you just said.
Yeah, that's how I talk. I would never say, I knew the pathway like the back of my hand. Right. I don't say it like that.
Correct.
So it doesn't connect.
Correct.
And that's what you were talking about
and
earlier.
I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of singers will just gloss over stuff like this. And it doesn't anger me or infuriate me. It just makes me feel for the singer. Mm-hmm. Because they're missing out on so much. The little things that they perceive as a little is a huge thing when it comes to overall interpretation and delivery of that vocal. Mm-hmm. Being fluid, phrasing, pushing a phrase. We talked about that. Yeah. I did that when we were talking about pocket. I pushed it away from me. Okay, came in late. Okay, then I pulled it to me. I came in early, of course, and then I was right on the beat. There are so many, and like here again, each song that you sing, whether you write it or it's a cover tune, is going to present different obstacles or different challenges. Let's just not say obstacles because that's a negative. Not even challenges, but opportunities. That's a great word to use. They'll present so many different opportunities for you to communicate and not just sing the vocal and present that subject matter in a way that the audience is not just sonically going to get it, but emotionally they're going to get it because they're going to feel like you're talking to them, speaking to them, not singing at them.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that
huge.
Cool stuff?
Singing at them versus communicating to them.
Communication is, we'll get into that later. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing.
Pushing and pulling, tell me a little bit more about that, because I'm still new at this phrasing thing, so I'm not as creative as I could be, I think, as an artist.
Play that, what you just played me, the first verse. And
all right. I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand.
Now, you didn't even know you were doing it, but you were pushing and pulling.
Pushing and pulling. Now, point it out for them, for me.
Go ahead.
I walked across an empty land.
What he's doing right there, I walked across, dun, 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 I walked across. Right on everything. I walked across. He's rushing. He's rushing through there. I walked across, not I walked across.
Walked across. Is
Correct.
it walked across?